Hi everyone, it's me, Kae Pea. I'm here in my studio, The Moon and the Maker, home of RubberMoon art stamps, and I'm here today for our first edition of Art Tea. And we're calling it Art Tea because our friend Jan said that she missed having tea with me every day at 11 since we had our World Watercolor event last month. And I came on every single day at 11. I guess that she got used to having her tea with me every morning. And I have been missing that too. So we decided here that we would do a special live demo at 11. I don't have an exact date or day for it yet. I'm going to plan it for once a week, just to do a quick demo and to catch you up on the latest here around the studio. I thought that would be such a cute name and something that we could do together and look forward together. I just haven't selected a day of the week yet because I'm still getting ready to take my kids off to college. They are leaving in just a few days now. I might cry. Yeah, they're leaving in 1 week from today. And so I have not yet decided on which day of the week that's going to be the best for me. I need to sort of just get them, moved, and then I'll reassess everything. But I am planning to do a once a week little demo or just a little artsy talk, something just to keep in touch with all of you. And because I loved the 11 o'clock time so much. And I think I had already told you all that it really kept me accountable. So I'd like to start that practice, but you just have to bear with me while I navigate this next couple weeks. But today we're going to have art tea, and that's why I went ahead and showed my little ink pick cup. I don't drink tea from it, but that'll be close enough. So today I thought that we could just do a fun Moonlight Duo demo. I know many of you have already seen the Moonlight Duo demo and maybe even taken the Painting by Moonlight class, but it's something that I have not pulled out for a long time. Last month was all about watercolor, and I haven't played with my Moonlight Duos for a while, so I was feeling like they were sort of neglected, and I thought it would be just fun to come on here at the 11 o'clock hour again and see all of you and catch up because I really have missed it. And I just needed a reason to come and get makey with all of you. Marin, my 18-year-old daughter, took a few days off work to go visit a friend in Minnesota. That's going to be her last hurrah before college starts. And my son already had his summer vacation in Florida, and he's back now, sort of just taking it easy and getting ready, packing up and stuff like that. So I wanted to come and be here with all of you. I already said that. So, all right. So let me just tell you some of the stuff that we're going to be using today. We are going to be using our Moonlight Duo. Here, let me pull a different out. That one's kind of hard to see. Moonlight Duo Tint and Hue ink pads. And these are something I designed specifically to be able to not only stamp with, but use directly to your surface and also get all sorts of hues, which is the color, and tints, which is what you make when you mix white with the color. Now I know these look quite scrungy after they're used up a bit, but that is what they're meant to do. So I'll show you some of our Moonlight Duo Tint and Hue ink pads, and then probably if you're going to play along, you're going to maybe want a few stencils, Mylar stencils, a few rubber stamps, and I, of course, recommend RubberMoon. But if you don't have RubberMoon stamps, then, of course, any of your favorite stamps will do. But I think that most of you probably have a few RubberMoon stamps. And then clayboard, okay? So clayboard is the surface that we're going to be working on. This is what it looks like, although these are flat panels, okay? So they're just this thickness here. You can also purchase clayboard in cradled panels, which means they'll have sides, they'll be more like a box. I'm just using the flat panels for our demo, but if you're doing artwork that you would like to hang on the wall, then, and not frame it or anything, then definitely one of the the cradled boards would be great. Clayboard is made by Ampersand. It's made here in the USA. It's a hard panel surface, and then it is coated with kaolin clay and baked at a very high temperature, and then sanded very smooth. So you have this beautiful, soft, well, soft feeling this way, but nice and firm substrate to work on. And it is great for all sorts of mediums, not just your inks. It takes, oh gosh, it will take all kinds of paints. It'll take watercolor. It'll take ink. You can not only add media to it, but the nice thing is that it can also be subtractive, and that means you can scratch out the clay board. So it's really a fun surface to work on. And then you're also going to want some baby wipes. Okay, so I always keep my baby wipes and some paper towels handy, and also some rubbing alcohol. I always have just a little bit of regular rubbing alcohol, and I will tell you why as we go through the demo. Okay. I don't think I'm forgetting anything, although I do use the ink picks, and these are available from RubberMoon. They are little disposable like brushes. Okay, these are great because they're very inexpensive. They're made to be disposable, although I use them until they're practically gone. And you can use them with things like watercolor. You can use them with things like masking fluid, and definitely to pick up and move small bits of ink. All right, so those are the materials that we'll be using for this demo. And I want you to know I really don't have anything pre-planned necessarily. I pulled out a few things that I thought I'd like to work with, but you know that most of my demos are spontaneous. I revel in being able to just pull things together at the last minute and play with them the way that I like to experiment when I'm alone in my studio. And so I can't guarantee a masterpiece, but I will try to do my best. Anyway, I want to show you a few samples. These are, again, all created with 100% Moonlight Duo ink pads, okay, and rubber stamps and stencils. So this one, very minimal on this. It's just basically using 2 stencils and 1 tiny rubber stamp, and the rest is all direct to surface ink pad to clayboard. Here's a little smaller one. This is a 4x6. And if it looks sort of shiny, if you see that sheen, that is because it has been sprayed with Krylon Kamar varnish after I'm all the way finished. So this piece was done using 1 stencil and then some of the Ma Vinci stamps from RubberMoon. Here's one from a painting by Moonlight demo, and this is using a whole bunch of stamps from the Stamp Strat collection, and then just some other random stencils from the Moon and the Maker eye stencil collection, and then yeah, just some of the different RubberMoon stamps. The True Free Spirit is a Mindy Lacefield stamp, and the face stamp is my moon face stamp. Again, this one's really similar, done in the same color palette, and again, pretty much using the same stamps and stencils. And here's one using Maxie's Garden Mix, and then again, one of my little stencils from iStencils, and that's the vase. And then you may remember this from Let's Get Makey Premium. Recently, we did a little bit of a Moonlight Duo demo not too long ago. And then this one is just all, again, 100% Moonlight Duo ink pads, and then just using tape and like a painter's tape and some stencils to create different layers and lines. And this one's not even done, but I wanted to share with you a few samples before we get started. So let me take a second just to read the comments and see if we have any questions before we get started, and to say hello to all of you. Thank you so much for joining me. I am so happy to be here this morning. So yeah, Jan says Jerry's Artorama has clayboard at good prices. So which they do. I think we might still have a little bit on RubberMoon, but I am also adding it to my favorites, which if you look at the favorites collection on RubberMoon, uh, the KP's faves, we're adding more to it pretty much every day. So please, if you can, try to shop through that link whenever possible. It really helps us out a lot. All right, so I do have a couple pieces of clayboard here. I think I'm going to start with the square one. I think that I would like to try using a few of the Elizabeth St. Hilaire stamps. I don't know. I really love her florals and just some of the pieces that she has from her collection. And then I do have this new little, this one's called Dashing 2, and it's just a tiny little, I call it a mixed media stamp just because it's sort of an abstract, I don't know if you can see it that well. It just has some little dots or dashes actually, and I really like it. So I pulled that one out. I have this little fern from Maxie's Garden Mix. Like I said, just a few stamps sort of hanging around. I don't really have a rhyme or reason right now. I just want to play and see what I can do with a few of these stamps. I'm going to grab a couple more. Let's see what I have here. I have, oh goodness, this is a favorite also. This is my Happy Thoughts text stamp. And of course, I have my burst stamp. Let's see what else I got here. I don't know. I guess I can always pull some more out as I go along if I decide it's lacking something. I do also have this little ATC leaf stencil from iStencils, and it is a KP design, the Moon and the Maker design. So this is a piece I forgot to pull out when I was showing you my samples. Now this one is done again with Moonlight Duos, although I added a little bit of other media. It has some white gesso and it has a little bit of molding paste. And it's not done on clayboard. It's actually just done on a regular gessoed panel. So that's one reason why I use gesso. But I did want you to see, and then this is a cradled panel. So I did want you to see that you can also use, again, like gesso and things with your Moonlight Duos. So I may, I'm not going to bring in gesso, but I may sort of emulate this because I like the way it looks. And I did pull in also a little bit of gold, a little bit of the golden iridescent gold paint on it as well. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start by, of course, again, kind of choosing a color palette. And so if I'm going to model myself after this, then I'm going to want some greens. So I'm going to pull out, this is my Martian green. And I'm sorry, the state of my ink pads look pretty rough because they've been well used and loved, but that's okay. That's what we want, right? We want our art supplies to be used and loved. If they're all pristine and still in the wrapper and they don't have fingerprints on them or splotches of paint or ink, then we're doing something wrong. All right, I'm going to pull out a little bit of purple and magenta. Okay, so I have, this is Lunar Lilac and Milky Way Magenta. Remember to, for those of you who have not seen or used Moonlight Duos, I just want to kind of go over them again with you. Again, they're called tint and hue ink pads, and that's because they have the hue, which is the color, and then they have a tinting pad. After you use them for a time, your tinting pad will become like, I hate calling it contaminated, but you know, it will transfer the color from your hue part of your pad over to your tinting pad. If it gets, and then, but which is what you kind of want, because you want this to become a tint of your hue. But in time, if it gets to be too much, what you want to do is take a dry, clean paper towel and just rub it a little bit. And of course, you're going to rub it side to side. You don't want to be rubbing it this way because you don't want to pull any color onto your white tinting pad. You're just going to use your dry paper towel and kind of give it a little scrub. Okay, and get some of that pink or whatever color off. And then you're going to want to take your white re-inker and just re-ink that baby and get it back sort of freshened up. Now, it's never going to be back to pristine white, but that's okay because, you know, you're not needing these as a pristine white pad. If you want a pristine white pad and to keep it white, because this is a wonderful white, okay, for stamping. But we do offer, or you can get any, you know, pretty much anywhere, just a blank pad. We offer these 2x2s. You know, and you can just keep a white ink, use your, I'm sorry, I'm getting all tongue tied. We offer dry ink pads, felt ink pads. You can just get a re-inker and ink that baby up if you want to keep a pristine white, okay? Or whatever. You get the idea. All right, so now what I need and what I'm looking for right this minute is an old credit card or some kind of scraper. And then I'm just going to scrape and make sure that my white ink is evenly distributed through there. And then this will stamp pretty dang white, okay? So, anyway, if not, you're going to get like this beautiful light pink shade, okay? And so Jan says, as long as you regularly re-ink them, it doesn't matter if they look rough. I love them. And I have to agree. Thank you, Jan. All right, so that is that. And again, I will remind you too that these are what we call hybrid ink, which is sort of, the best way I can describe it is a mixture between, which I don't think is really very technical, but it's sort of a mixture between a dye ink and a pigment ink. So you have sort of the best of both worlds, okay? They are permanent and waterproof when they are set. So, but I would be careful using them on like coated or glossy cardstock. They will sit on the surface and not dry really quickly. You can do powder embossing with them, but you must work quickly, all right, because it dries faster than a pigment. All right, so I chose a few shades of green here. I have my Space Moss green, my Galactic green, and my Martian green, all the 3 shades of green. And then I have, like I said, the Lunar Lilac and the Milky Way Magenta. I'm going to go ahead and I think start by taking some of my magenta and just going straight to the surface of my clay board. And you'll see and note that it's kind of streaky when you do it this way. So I'm going to take a paper towel and probably a baby wipe too, and I'm going to sort of just buff it out a little bit. If you don't like those lines, you can take a baby wipe and you can sort of start to mush them in a little bit. Remember, you're just going to keep working this until you get not only the coloration or the striations that you like, but also you know, you're just working it into the surface a little bit. And then you can keep applying until you get it how you like it. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go into my white and start smushing that around a little bit and try to get rid of some of these harsh outer lines. Remember, I'm gonna end up building this up a lot. And also bear with me a little bit because I have not done this for a while. Once you start, if you try this technique and you start playing around with it and do it a few times, you'll start getting a feel for it because it does get a little sticky on the surface. So, and it always doesn't necessarily move around the way you want it to. And that's one thing I was going to show you is if you need to remove anything completely, you may want to use your alcohol. The alcohol will remove the ink straight off the clay board. You don't want to do this a lot though, okay? It will sort of eat away at the integrity of the clay board. So you don't want to use tons of alcohol, just a little where you really, really need it. But as you can see, I can actually remove the color. Okay, do you see that? It's almost like magic erase. All right, but again, you want to do that sparingly because it will eventually eat away at the clay board. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just keep layering on color while I'm talking. And I'm going to go in with this my Aurora teal color, I think. I'm not sure why. It's just kind of what I feel like doing right now. Again, I told you I didn't really have any specific rhyme or reason. I just want to use these stamps and play with some color. Oops, sometimes I will end up removing more than anticipate, or more than I really want to. So then I just have to go back in and reapply. So you're just going to keep kind of going back and forth between baby wipe and paper towel, depending on, how much you want to remove and how much you just want to buff off. All right, it's looking really abstracty right now, and that's okay. Again, I'm just messing with my base layers here. It's not having very much success right now at having it go on smoothly, but that's okay. All the stamps and stencils over the top are going to start pulling it all together. Going on with my white pad now. Sometimes that can help sort of blend it a little bit. I'll let that dry. It's just sort of being stubborn right there. And I don't know why, but orange right now is calling my name. So I'm going to listen to the voices in my head. Yeah, that looks really pretty. I like that a lot. And I don't know if you could see that. I got some like weird fingerprint or something up there. So I was trying to cover that up and buff that in. So you can see it will start, just getting a little bit smoother and more saturated color. One thing about the clay board is it will sort of grab the color in certain areas quicker than in other areas. So you just have to really keep working it and playing with it. And again, a lot about going back and forth, buffing color in, moving it around. And again, if you have any little areas that you really don't like, or if it's streaky or just, looking a little messy, don't worry, because once you start layering your stamps and your stencils, it will start to come together. So right now I'm just going to get myself a couple acrylic blocks. If I can find the right size, that would be great. I don't know. Sometimes I think the things in my studio literally grow little feet and walk away. All right, so my stamps have been well used and loved, and sometimes not as well taken care of as they should be. So this is probably not going to stick to my acrylic block. So I'm actually going to take some of this. This is non-permanent, so it's removable tape runner. And I'm going to use that to stick my acrylic block because I do want to use a block for this. And right now is when I need to decide what color do I want to stamp in. Do I want to stamp in, you know, do I want to stamp in dark or in black, or do I want to stamp in a similar color? So I just need to decide how I want to address this. I think that I'm actually going to try. I think I'm just going to use my Aurora Teal again and use that as my stamp. I don't know. I'm kind of torn. No, I don't think I do want that color. I think I'm going to try first. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to try to stamp in my magenta and see if I stamp solidly in just magenta, if that will work, or maybe I should use a lighter side. I don't know. Let me just try this first. Remember, if you want some nice gradients, then just turn it over and tap it a little bit, and then your edges will be a little bit gradient. I don't know if you can really see that just because it's so dirty, but so it's nice. It's subtle. Maybe I do want to do a little bit darker color, so I'm going to go ahead and go into my what's it called again? Lunar Lilac. I can't believe how fast I forget the names. Jeez, they just fly right out of my brain. Sort of like how my stuff walks out of my studio. So that looks kind of nice. I like that contrast. And maybe then up here I'll use the orange again, or even red. I could use a red. That would probably stand out nicely. So, you know, I choose my color palette and then I just end up with every color of the rainbow. I don't know why I don't just give up trying to choose color palettes. I just should pick rainbow every single time. So that looks kind of nice, right? All right, so I stamped some flowers, and let's see. I am going to start. Okay, just give me a second. I'm debating here. I think I'm going to lay down a little bit more color. Oh gosh, I don't know. I'm gonna maybe a little bit of this green. Remember, this color, this Moonlight Duo ink pad, you can see it's still shimmering a little bit. It's still wet and it's still very movable, okay? So like if I wanted to wipe this away, this would wipe completely away right now. And actually it would do something kind of cool. I'm going to go ahead and do it. If it makes a mistake, oh well, I'll figure out a way to fix it. But I kind of want to show you that sometimes, not always, well, this one's not working as well. A lot of times though, it will leave, can you kind of see that? It will leave like a little ghost image. So I'm going to try it again because I can always restamp all these. And this is one of the beautiful things about this process is can you see that? It leaves these like gorgeous little traces of almost, I always liken it to like a batik, but it's really like a little ghost image. And that is where the ink was wet. And especially if the color was sort of dark and that ink was wet and it sort of reactivated it and then pulled it all away. Okay, that's pretty subtle. Sometimes it will do it even more, but the fun thing is that now I can go back and relayer everything again, but I'll still have those little beautiful bits underneath. And actually, I'm going to hold off on this one. I think I'm going to take this big, I can't remember what this one's called, but it's like from her Wildflower collection, again, from the Elizabeth St. Hilaire collection. And I am going to use my Space Moss here. And remember, you're going to stamp, or you're going to ink the stamp, not stamp the ink. I always find that to be a better way to do it. I'm going to go ahead and do some of this backgroundy stuff here and beautifully remove some of it. I just don't want it to look like it's all lined up like this. So I'm just going to gently sort of remove little bits here and there. And again, I don't know if you can see that little subtle sort of area that it removed the color again. And now I'm going to go ahead and ink these up again. And I want some of this to kind of go back down in there. So I'm going to stamp it over again. And then even though you can see, of course, I didn't do any masking or anything, but the cool thing is that now I can go in, because it's all very easily removable, and I can wipe some of that away. Just remember, again, how easy this is to change and manipulate. If you don't like something, or if you make a big mess of it, just wipe the whole dang thing away again. You're going to just get nothing but more delicious texture, okay? And I could go back in and stamp it again if I want to, or not, because the beautiful thing is that now I can go in with my ink picks, okay? I'm going to get a fresh one here. And I can start to add color in. I can deepen areas, and actually almost like you're painting in using your ink pad. And of course, you can get your reinkers if you want to get your reinkers and just a little palette. And you could dip into your reinkers if you want to use more ink, instead of doing it this way where you're just not getting very much. This works great if you're just wanting little tiny, areas. So the reason I don't use a brush is because these inks will kind of gum up your brushes, and it's just so much easier and nicer to use these tiny little detail things and sort of smush it around. Not sure if I'm loving the color that I'm making between the two of these, but it's okay. I'm going to go in and do a little more buffing. So you can start to see how I will pull, not pull color out, but what am I trying to say? I will start to make the images pop out by coloring in the background. Okay, so you can also just use a little bit of ink on your, if you're wanting larger areas, just use a little bit of ink directly on your paper towel, and you can smush and pull color around using that too. And remember, all this is still movable, okay? Then the other thing I like to do, let me find, I pulled out my stencils to show you, but now I have too big of a mess to find them already. Aha, here they are down here hiding from me. So I'm just going to lay this over. I'm going to see if that ink is still wet enough to pull some of the color out, which, yep, it definitely is. But if not, if you find that your color is not moving, then you can again take just a tiny bit of the rubbing alcohol, and you can really almost bring your entire piece back to white, pure white if you want. Okay, I'm going to go over here just to show you. I just spray a little bit of my rubbing alcohol onto my baby wipe again. I don't want it super, super wet because I don't want all that moisture going up underneath the stencil, but you can see, ooh, how much that will pull and how much back to white you can get it. Okay, so that's really a fun trick. But again, just remember, you don't want to use way too much alcohol because it will mess with the integrity of your clay board. So I'm going to do the same thing. If I wanted to pull color out of each individual little petal, I can use a little alcohol and get some of these petals pulled back up to a lighter shade. All right, and here I do really feel like I want to stamp that again. So I'm going to go in with my Lunar Lilac one more time and over stamp it again. Like a lot of times, this is great for when you're just sitting in your studio and surrounded by, you know, some of your favorite materials and favorite stamps, and you have time to really just sit and create. Because you are going to want to push and pull these layers, and like, look how beautiful that underneath is. And especially if I start to deepen the background, that all that will really pop. Okay, and I think that's actually what I'm going to do right now is I'll spend a little time putting some more color back in the background. Just not exactly sure what color I want to use. Oh goodness. Well, I think I'm just going to stick with the magenta for now. And I'm actually going to pull a little bit of my magenta re-inker out. If I can find it. And I'm just going to put some Milky Way magenta re-inker right on there. And I'm going to take my paper towel and try to buff some of this a little bit. I also think it's pretty fun to do this just because it's nice to not, to just pull out my stamps and ink pads and a couple baby wipes and paper towels and just have fun, sort of not having to get out all my paints and my ink, my paint brushes and my water and all this. It's nice to just create with a few materials at my fingertips and get to explore like this. And next time, I promise I will have my tea also. You can see I covered up some of my white little leaf areas over there, and that's okay. Remember, I could always pull them back out if I wanted to with another baby wipe and some more stenciling. If I wanted to also take maybe even another color like my yellow, I'm going to go directly to the surface, but of course you could use your ink pick. But just remember again, and I know I repeat myself a lot, but it's just all about the layers. Layer, layer, layer. If I don't really like the way I covered those up, I'm going to take, again, a tiny bit of alcohol and try to pull that out. And then I can always lay some more ink down and, reapply everything. But I just, again, I like to show you my mistakes so that you can hopefully learn from them. Again, pulling out more color, not necessarily on purpose. It's just that I decided I wanted another color. And this is atmospheric blue. Which is super pale. And really didn't do very much. That's okay. I'm going to restamp over that again. So anyway, this is the way I like to play with these materials and sort of some of the fun effects that we can get when we just take, again, some baby wipes, some alcohol, some paper towels, some ink pads, and some clay boards and go to town. I know I'm keeping you here probably a little bit longer than I anticipated, but it kind of is what ends up happening when I'm working sort of just spontaneously and I don't really have exact rhyme or reason for what I'm doing, but hopefully you have your tea and your art materials and you're playing along with me. And if not, I hope that you will be able to get out your stuff and explore. All right, so you can kind of see I'm trying to fix this side that I messed up on, so I'm just layering up some color. Again. And then I'll take my same little Same little, oh, why do my stencils have to be so small and clear? Now I don't know what happened to it. You guys probably think I'm a nut, which you wouldn't be far from the truth, but literally I can't find my stencil now. All right, let me just pick up some of these dang ink pads. Aha, the reason why is because I threw it all the way across the table. Sorry about that. Job hazard. And it's, you know, it's getting there. This, I feel, I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, it still needs some more, oh, I think some other kinds of layers, maybe back in here a little bit, maybe a little bit more color. I don't know yet. That all just comes to me as I continue working around the piece, as certain other portions of it start to kind of dry. And remember, as well as pulling out color the way that I'm doing here, and some areas are more white and pulled out than others, others are more subtle, you can also, of course, add color back in. So maybe you're wanting some darker areas. So add color in instead of removing, right? But if it gets on a spot that you don't like, you can easily remove that. Again, getting subtle little variations. All right, and then of course, you know how much I love my little burst stamp. So I may go in again with some deeper color and even just add some more texture. If you don't want it to look too just stamped perfectly, then you might want to take and remove some of those areas. Or of course, you could also use different texture stamps. And I sort of feel like those little bits, especially using the burst stamp or something that has a lot of, you know, texture to it, helps sort of ease your transitions. I always like to call it, when I watercolor, I call it stitching it together, but it's really just sort of helping ease some of the transitions. So and you know, you may want to use some different colors to sort of facilitate that. Again, maybe pulling some of it back a little bit. I'm still feeling like it needs a little more depth in some of these areas as well. And, you know, I may not be able to finish this to where I absolutely love every part of it in this amount of time. Sometimes sometimes things will come together super quick. And then other times I will need to spend, you know, more hours on it to get it where I love it. But one thing I think I would like to add, possibly, I don't know, I'm looking at it thinking, oh goodness, like a nice word would be nice on here somewhere. So I'm going to grab a word stamp that I think I want. And we're going to try this. This is one of Mindy Lacefield, and I love her writing. And I think this word stamp might look cute on here, so we're going to try it. Again, I'm using my Aurora Teal. I'm not sure if I love that there or not, but again, it's okay because I could always pull it out pretty easily, I think. Let's try it in a different spot. I like that a little better, I think. Not 100% sure. I'll have to step back from it for a while. And I think I kind of like that, and still not sure about the word or not, but I'll look at it for a while and see how I feel about that. See what else it might need. I feel like I'm looking at it in the monitor, and I may want to pull in some of this a little bit more over to here. I feel like this looks a little strong. Let's go ahead and take that off all the way. I don't care if some of it still sort of shows through. This is what I'm finding that I don't really like right now. So I'll pull some of that back again. And, maybe go in and reapply some color here, some kind of darker color, I think. I'm feeling like this portion here needs a little, and, one of the ways that you can also apply some of this color, that I love my burst stamp, and I use it all the time to actually add in like build up color. And I feel like this area really needs a little darkness. So maybe that's how I want to pull it in. I don't know. Again, it's all just a matter of layering on and pulling back and looking at it and just, making those kinds of decisions. I don't like it at all. I can scrub it out and basically start over the way I did in this corner. I'm feeling like this needs some depth and maybe some green. So that's why I'm struggling with it a little bit, but this is the kind of thing that I want you to be able to see and know when you're working, so that you don't say like, oh, when KP did it, it looks so fast and easy. And now I'm doing it and I'm really struggling along with it, because this isn't necessarily something that you're going to make in just 5 minutes. You're going to want to experiment and play until you get it just right. Now, it's really, really juicy, which I wasn't expecting. I think I do like that a little bit better. I feel like this will still need a little bit of work, maybe even to be over stamped again. But all in all, I'm really happy with the layers. I'm really happy with the way this looks. And then I do want to tell you, once this is all set, which I would leave it set for about an hour, um, uh, then I will spray it with my Krylon Kamar spray varnish. Okay. And then that will not only set it and keep everything, from ever smearing around or anything like that, but it will give it a beautiful sheen and really retain the bright, vibrant colors of the Moonlight Duos. And now, sorry, well, I don't know. I just called Emily Natalie for some reason, but Emily had a great idea, and that is to split the Wild Surrender into two lines. And remember, the other thing that you can do if you really wanted to is you could actually lighten this up a little bit in order to stamp it dark again. Or, to have, like, if you wanted to lighten up an area, that way you could stamp and it would really stand out. So keep in mind that's something that you can do. Also, I am going to try to stamp this center flower again one more time. And again, it won't be perfectly lined up, but that's okay. And how about we'll just have wild? I don't know, maybe wild. How about that? I don't know. You know me, I just love to play around and see and experiment. And then when I get it right, I know it's right. And then I'm usually happy. And if not, then it just goes into my experimental pile that I can use or learn from, look at, whatever later in time. So, anyway, my friends, that is my exciting Moonlight Duo demo for the day. And that's Art Tea with KP. I just love that. That makes me tickled. So I hope that you'll watch for future editions of Art Tea with KP. I promise that I will let you know as soon as I decide on a day of the week. If you all want to tell me about the day of the week that might be best for you, I would love that. And if you're interested in following along, I hope that you'll subscribe to RubberMoon TV and like and share the videos. I really appreciate you and love you to the moon and back. Wish me luck this next week. I've been crying every day. And I take turns between being elated and being super sad. Michael and Rin are leaving for college a week from today, so you might not see me that much over the next week, but I promise to be back and raring to go, within the next 10 days. So thank you so much for joining me. I know that doesn't really even look the same, but well, they kind of go together, right? And again, this was a little bit different of a technique, but super fun. I love Elizabeth St. Hilaire's stamps, not only for this technique, but for so many mixed media things. So I hope you've been enjoying them as much as I have. Anyway, I guess that's it. I always have trouble saying goodbye, so I'm just going to say bye. Have a great day and see you soon. Mwah.